Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and following up on the previous video where we looked at the top 5 ways to write a good romance, we are going to look at the 5 things that just ruin a romance. Excuse the wild and out of control hair, I have not long come out of the shower and it is just doing its own thing. As mentioned before, we are in February and Valentine's Day is coming up, and whether you celebrate it or not, it is hard to escape the whole over-the-top lovey-dovey romance atmosphere, and that can come with a mixed bag in itself. I've also said this before, I am not big on the romance genre. There are very few stories that I've read that have been romance-based and that I've enjoyed. Likewise, when a story that I'm enjoying includes a romance, it is very hit and miss whether I'll actually enjoy that. I am just one of those people that it doesn't always mesh with. There has to be something very specific in order to capture my attention and to get my respect, I suppose. So whereas before we were all positive with 5 great ways to write romance, we're going to look at the 5 ways that can ruin a romance. We love a good rant here, don't we? Number 1 on my list, and this was also in my least favourite or most hated tropes or something like that. I can't remember the actual title, but I will try and remember it. The love triangle. God, it is so lazy and it is not done right anyway. And I'm not being funny, but a love triangle is supposed to be where all 3 people have a connection to one another. Not just one person trying to decide which one is prettiest to be with. No one gives a damn. No one gives a damn whatsoever. It is lazy, it is overdone, it's borderline abusive because you're just trailing people on who would do anything for you just because you can't make up your mind, when really if you can't make up your mind then you shouldn't be with either of them. It's not interesting, it's a trope that just needs to die at this point, and it can be so predictable. And it captures the story so much. Like if there's a really interesting plot going along, but the main character's just like, oh, I can't decide which of these 2 pretty people to be with, then you're just kind of like, you've got other shit to deal with, lovely. Why are you coping? Why are you dealing with this? It just takes you out of the moment. I hate it so much and it needs to stop. Number 2, the I can fix them trope. A relationship, no matter if it's a friendship, a family relationship, or a romantic relationship, a relationship in general is supposed to be a mutual state of care and compassion and consideration for the other person. So why do you need to feel the need to fix them? Being in a relationship with someone is not a job. You do not have to take it upon yourself to be like, oh, I'm going to go out with this person and I'm gonna make this person fall in love with me just so I can change them to fit what my standards are for a good relationship. No, please no. Trying to fix someone to fit your standards is kind of vile, and I don't understand why it is such a big trope in so many stories. I don't understand it. It just feels very seedy, it feels very manipulative, and it does not need to be there. Characters have flaws, that is just a given. Characters will have flaws that they need to work on. Maybe they're too stubborn and guarded, maybe they're too meek and shy, maybe they have an addiction of some kind if you want to go to extremes. No one is perfect, and yep, sometimes they do need help to overcome these things. But why does that need to be a job to fix the person in order to fit relationship standards? Sometimes flaws and issues can't get fixed. Sometimes couples will have to find other ways of coping, but it should never be about the main goal of someone trying to fix someone else for their standards, and I hate it. Number 3, the whole trope of abuse is sexy. Manipulating, stalking, isolating, forcing yourself into somebody else's life when they don't want it. It's all a form of abuse, but it is also overly romanticized. Like if someone is, like in a book, if someone is stalking somebody else, then it's seen as romantic, as, oh, they're going out of their way because they care about me. If like they're isolating from their friends and stuff, it's like, oh, because they just want all of my attention to them, isn't that sweet? It's like, no, it's not. It's uncomfortable. It's not something that would work in real life. If you saw that someone was stalking you or trying to cut you off from your friends and family, then you wouldn't see that as romantic. You'd see that as a major set of red flags, and I don't understand why when it's in a book form it's suddenly romantic. If that is happening to you, call the damn police. And cheating as well, like if someone in the relationship is cheating, then the victim is like, oh well, I could give them a second chance because they said they were sorry. Like, no, they've cheated on you, there is no coming back from that, and there is no excuse. It's all just so manipulative, and it feels so uncomfortable to read, especially when it's made out in this big over-the-top romantic gesture, and I don't like it. I did say jester then. I will openly admit my mistake. I said jester. Just have the characters talk and have some level of respect for each other. That's all I'm asking. It shouldn't be much to ask, and yet it is a colossal ask. Number 4, I mentioned this in the previous video. Insta Love. I can't stand Insta Love. I mean, you can look at someone for the first time and be like, okay, I find that person attractive, or hey, that person is doing something that I find pretty cool. You can have moments of a connection like that. You can have a level of interest from a first viewing of someone, because that is called a first impression. However, falling in love at first sight doesn't exist. I hate to be the one to tell you, but love at first sight doesn't exist. Attraction at first sight? Yes. Interest at first sight? Yes. Love? No. Having a story where there's love at first sight, it just feels lazy, it feels so cliche, and it just feels so predictable, because you instantly know where this story is going to go. There are no surprises, there's just no build-up, and it just feels obsessive, I want to say. Because then this character develops an obsession for the one that they've had an insta-love moment with, and again, that becomes uncomfortable. It just feels like it forces the plot along when there's really no need to. You could have a decent slow burn from this, you could have a slow realization that just feels like it's worth something, but no, insta-love just cuts all of that in the bud, and then you're left feeling like, well, okay, where are we gonna go now? Kind of goes back to my other point of letting characters develop on their own first before you introduce any kind of romantic element, just because then they feel more real, the relationship can feel more real, and it all feels like it's actually going to pay off, whereas insta-love just happens and then it's gone, and then it's predictable, and then it's lazy. Sorry, Disney. And number 5, so one thing I hate is when two people are in a relationship, or they're about to be in a relationship, and they are basically copies of the same person. No two people have the same brain, okay? No two people have the same thought process. No two people have the same likes and dislikes. And if you have a couple that is supposed to be soulmates, then fine. They're going to have a lot in common, but they're also going to have disagreements, because that's just human. That is just human. Being 100% of a love match does not mean you're 100% of a mental match. I don't quite know how to word it, but you get what I mean. You don't need to have, do you agree on this thing? Yes, I agree on this thing. Because then there's no conversation, there's no chance for development, there's no chance to learn. It's lazy. Stop writing couples that are just a gender-bent version of each other, or have the same brain, or 100% carbon copy of each other, because it's just pointless. So, long story short, those are the 5 things that just ruin a romance in story, and they really need to be scrapped. And I am sorry if they are some things that you have happened to be writing. It's just not for me, and if you've managed to find a twist on it, then good for you, I'm glad, and please enlighten me, because I want to learn. But from what I've seen, those 5 things, I will put the book down. And I have done many times in the past. Like I said, we like a good rant here. But yep, I'm gonna end this video here before the negative spiral continues. And if you have any advice for me, if you have any tropes that have popped up in romance that you absolutely can't stand, please share them. We can have a little rant together. Until then, I hope you're doing well, I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, my scribblers.